Do you have a jar of kimchi in your fridge and you don't know what to do with it? Don't worry, baby girl. Mama Doobie is here to the rescue. Today, we're going to make 10 recipes using kimchi so your kimchi can tai chi in your belly. I see so many people, both Korean and non-Korean, making kimchi all over social media. However, many people still don't know what to do with kimchi after whether it's making it at home or picking it up from the grocery store. And I'm here today to show you how delicious, healthy, and versatile kimchi is, and to make that barrier to buying your first jar of kimchi a little less daunting. Let's quickly review some of the most commonly asked questions about kimchi before moving on to the recipes. So what is kimchi? So for those who've never tried it, kimchi is a Korean fermented vegetable most commonly used with napa cabbage. The red color usually scares people off, thinking that it's going to be really spicy, but the pepper used in Korean cooking, gochugaru, is much milder and sweeter than the Italian pepperoncino, but spicier than paprika, somewhere in that sweet spot in between. Kimchi was developed as a way of preserving food. So for Koreans, it was the only source of food to keep people full over the winter, and for most Koreans, even to this day, we make our kimchi once a year in a preparation called kimjang. We make piles of kimchi and it's packed into these ceramic jars called ongis and dug down in the ground to keep cold so it doesn't over-ferment. What is the difference between fresh kimchi and fermented kimchi? There's a big difference between fresh kimchi and fermented kimchi. Fresh kimchi is essentially just like a salad. It hasn't been fermented yet. If you buy kimchi from the grocery store, it's most likely going to be fresh since it's sold as a refrigerated product and the temperature is going to be too low for it to be fermented. To ferment your kimchi fast, leave it at room temperature inside a plastic bag. It should take anywhere between half a day or a full day, and then keep it in the coldest section of the fridge and it's going to last you months. You'll know that your kimchi is ready and fermented when it has a sour, refreshing taste like sauerkraut, and it'll get even better, especially fermenting at lower temperature as the flavors mature slowly, just like your mother. As a fermented food, kimchi is an excellent source of probiotics for your gut health. I feel like one of the most commonly asked questions is if the probiotics in kimchi will die out when cooked at a high temperature. And while yes, lactobacillus denatures at 72 degrees for 16 seconds, kimchi is still an excellent source of fiber and micronutrients, not only to mention it's a versatile ingredient, giving depth to the flavor and tenderizing proteins. I've also developed a method that still ensures that you'll have live probiotics in your kimchi dishes after you're done cooking, and you'll see that later on. Now enough about kimchi, let's get cooking. So the first dish that we're going to be making today is Kimchi Jjigae. Kimchi Jjigae is the comfort food of many Koreans. It's spicy, it's indulgent, it's comforting, it's acidic, it's everything that I want in one bowl. Let's go over some of the ingredients. We have some kimchi, pork, kimchi juice, tofu, leeks, onion, garlic, and a little bit of ginger. What I like to do that's a little unconventional to begin with is actually marinate the pork in a little bit of kimchi juice. This is just to tenderize the pork a bit and to make it really nice and flavorful. Okay, we're gonna be using a quarter of kimchi. You don't want to eat the stem, it's unedible, so I'm just gonna put it to the side. And you want to cut it around 2-inch or 4-centimeter chunks. Let's cut our veg, just thin slices, and same with the leeks. And you want to cut them in a diagonal direction. Now we're gonna cut the tofu about a 1/4 inch. Every good kimchi jjigae needs a binding sauce to really color it, give it that darkness and that red piquant color, just like this. 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of gochujang, 1 tablespoon minced garlic, and this is going to be our sauce. Let's start with the sauteing. Into your pot, you want to drizzle in 2 tablespoons of neutral oil, and in goes our pork. And right now, what you want to do is render out the pork. And the cut of pork that I'm using is the front leg because it's cheap and it also stews really well. And you can see the pool of lard just kind of inside. And you want to push the pork to the sides and drop our kimchi in. Just saute it briefly just to bring out that subtle sweetness and so that the kimchi can roast in some of that lard. Now 1 liter of water goes in. Better if you put stock in, but water will do just fine. Once the stew comes to a simmer, you want to add the onion and the leeks in. We're gonna add the sauce. And I have 1 knob of ginger that I forgot to microplane into the sauce. And the ginger is really going to awaken the dish. A little bit goes a long way and it makes a huge difference to your broth. Reduce the heat to low. And before we close the lid, we're going to add our kimchi juice in. The acid in this is going to further break down the pork and make it extremely tender. Lid goes on, leave it slightly open so it doesn't overflow, and I'll see you again in 20 minutes. Okay, it's been 20 minutes, so let's check on our kimchi jjigae. It smells so freaking good in here, my god! And you want to add the tofu at the end because it's quite delicate and soft, just like you. And I'm just gonna ladle some of the sauce over so that it can really soak up. Let's let this simmer for another 5 and it's gonna be ready. Okay, our tofu is done braising. I'm gonna turn the heat off and just garnish with a little bit of green and red peppers. So just like how you would finish off like a nice dish with a little bit of lemon juice at the end, it's the same concept. A little bit of acidity of fresh kimchi juice, just a tiny bit, to really bring out that sourness, and it's gonna make that whole dish alive. Yay, to gut health! Your body's gonna thank you in 12 hours. And just like that, our kimchi jjigae is ready. This is my ultimate comfort food, pork kimchi jjigae and a fresh bowl of microwave rice. Look how the oil just rises to the top. It's like super well emulsified. It's just gorgeous. A good kimchi jjigae is determined by a good kimchi, and this kimchi is one with a lot of memories because it was the first kimchi that my dear Kroliger and I have made together with my family, so it tastes even better. But for me, a bowl of kimchi jjigae is not complete without a pack of Kirkland seaweed from Costco, because if it's a good deal, it always tastes better. The leaf part of the kimchi wrapped around the rice like that. Double layer seaweed because I grew up as an only child. Man, that's good. On to chon, and the king of all chons is Kimchi Jeon. So it's a kimchi fritter and we pan fry it and it gets really nice and golden brown. We're gonna start with a little bit of chopped kimchi, half and half AP flour and corn starch. Now we're gonna season the kimchi pancake with a little bit of salt, and for a nice color we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of gochugaru. And then I'm just gonna briefly mix it around, and then now we're gonna add in water. And you wanna make sure that the water is cold because cold water prevents gluten formation. I'm just gonna add little by little. And you don't wanna over mix it. Even if it's a little lumpy, like you, it's okay. It's all the imperfections that makes us beautiful. So the consistency of the batter should be very loose. It should really resemble vomit. Don't yuck my yum. You want to make sure that your pan is raging hot, or else it's gonna stick. You'll know when your stainless pan is non-stick when even water just completely disperses like that. That's a good sign that your pan is very hot, and this is when you put lots of oil. Essentially, it is a shallow fry. So that's around 3 tablespoons of oil. Make sure it's well coated, and then we're gonna put the batter in. Just want to even it out, pat it like you would to your baby or your boyfriend's ass. I'm gonna lower it to a medium. Okay, I think this is ready for a release. You can see the edges is super crinkly and beautiful, and we flip. This looks beautiful to me. It's a little on the thicker side, but it's gonna be crispy on the outside, but soft and moist and very acidic on the inside with a nice bit of crunch from the kimchi. We're gonna garnish the center with a little bit of red and green chili, and we have our kimchi pancake ready. Music to my ears. Crispy, red, golden brown. A jeon is not complete without a bottle of makgeolli. We're supplementing some of the dead probiotics with this one. Look at that cross section. It's my baby. You're damn right. This is my baby. Wow, that acidity and that crunchiness coming from both the kimchi and the batter. Cornstarch is what makes this recipe really special. It really makes that batter light and airy and crispy. She said before she even chewed. No. Kimchi fried rice. There's a saying in Korean that you want to marry a woman that makes good kimchi fried rice. Sexist and antiquated, but it doesn't mean that only women should know how to make kimchi fried rice. Everyone should. Kimchi brings gender equality. We have some day-old rice, chopped kimchi, spam, leeks or green onion, some seaweed flakes. This is optional, just to use as garnish, and also an egg because you need to crown your kimchi fried rice with an egg. And we also are going to be using some gochujang as well as some neutral oil, soy sauce, and sesame oil to finish on top. And here I have a skillet because it looks cool. You want to heat your skillet on high heat until it comes up to temperature. Now that our pan is nice and hot, I'm going to drizzle in 2 tablespoons of oil, coat it nice, and we're going to make some scallion oil first. This is to infuse some of that sweet green onion flavor into the oil and to kind of caramelize it. And once the green onion starts like untangling and have like this nice golden brown color, we're going to put our spam in. And once the spam looks nice and slightly golden brown, we're gonna add our kimchi in. And once the kimchi is sauteing, we're gonna make a quick sauce, and it's going to be 1 tablespoon of soy sauce and ½ tablespoon of gochujang. And you just wanna mix the two together. This is also just to aggrandize that red color and to make the food look beautiful. Us Koreans, we like it red, we like it spicy. You kind of want to push the sauteed kimchi and spam mixture to the side and create a ring, and then we're going to add our sauce in the middle. Just break it apart and kind of cook it out in the oil. It's going to bubble and sizzle and caramelize nicely from the sugar content of the gochujang. It's going to act almost like a syrup. And once that's cooked out, we're going to add the rice. Just break it up, making sure every granule is well coated with all the rest of the ingredients. And if you feel like the rice is sticking to each other a little bit, just add a tiny bit of oil. And it's going to coat every granule and make sure that it's not clumpy, but scattered. That's what we're really looking for in fried rice. Every granule coated. We're gonna create that ring of fire again. Put a little bit more oil in the center and crack an egg in. So nureungji is the crispy scorched rice on the bottom of each good fried rice, and it's the part that all Koreans fight for. It's the best part of eating fried rice. I'm gonna season the egg with a little bit of salt and a little bit of black pepper. And you just wanna cook it on low heat until the whites turn opaque. Now you can see the whites have turned opaque. That's a good sign that the egg whites have solidified. I'm gonna top it off with a little bit of chopped green onion and also with a little bit of seaweed flakes. And right before you eat it, you wanna drizzle in 1 teaspoon of sesame oil to really give it that nice aroma. Let's dig in. Golden and caramelized. Spam is cheating. You can never beat spam. Kimchi itself is so potent and so deep in flavor that you really don't need that much else to cook with. 1 pot meal, very little dishes to do, and very, very easy. If you don't eat spam, you can also substitute with other proteins like chicken, tuna, beef. Chorizo is actually really, really good. So feel free to take your riff on it and try it out. first recipes that made me go viral on TikTok. It's kind of almost like a Korean arancini. The beauty of this recipe is that the rice gets really nice and toasty and golden brown with the crunch, and then inside is ooey and gooey with cheese. So let's go over the ingredients. Obviously, we have some chopped kimchi, low moisture mozzarella, just any like frozen mozzarella, rice, gochujang, sugar, sesame oil, soy sauce, and a little bit of black pepper. We want to first start by making the sauce. So the same procedure kind of as the kimchi fried rice. We want to add a little bit of gochujang. I'm going to add half tablespoon, 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, half tablespoon of sugar, and this is essentially going to act as our glaze so that the rice can get crispy and there's more sugar for the caramelization process to happen. Okay, let's quickly saute. We're going to do 1 tablespoon of neutral oil, and into it we're going to add our kimchi. In this process, we're going to evaporate some of the excess moisture, because if the rice ball has too much moisture, it's gonna fall apart and become really mushy like porridge. Once the kimchi is nice and roasted, you want to create a ring, and in the center, we're gonna add our sauce in. We're just gonna cook off the sauce and let some of the excess moisture evaporate. And you can already see that the gochujang and the sugar is creating like a glaze over the kimchi, and that's exactly what's going to make our rice ball nice and red, but also have that nice gloss. This is freshly made white rice. I just let some of the excess moisture evaporate off. You don't want the rice to be too hot, or else the moisture from it is going to be very difficult for you to form nice rice balls. Let's make some balls tonight. And then in goes our sauce. And then you want to mix everything together. And you just want to loosen it up with a little bit of sesame oil. 1 teaspoon. It's also going to give it that really nice aroma. Okay, this looks great to me. What you want to do is put around a 1/4 cup of rice and put it on your palm and just spread it out like this. There's sesame oil in this, so it shouldn't stick, but if it does, just put a little bit of water on your hands and it shouldn't stick. And you want to add around 1 tablespoon of mozzarella. Now you want to put another 1/4 cup of rice on top, spread it out, kind of cover up the mozzarella. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then you want to flip it like that. And then you want to just start forming it into a ball first, like this. And from here on, you can get really creative with whatever shapes you want it to look like. It could look like a star sign, like a Patrick or a SpongeBob. But today I'm gonna go the classic route, like an onigiri shape. You don't want to press too hard, and just don't be too greedy with the amount of cheese. It's going to melt and it will be cheesy. It'll make your oven a disaster to clean up, so trust me, don't be too greedy. If you have a little bit of like cheese just peeking out, just cover it up with a little more rice, like that. So our rice balls are finished, and you want to let them rest in the freezer for about 10-15 minutes so they firm up, and it's easier to handle. Right now they're still a little soft and a little fragile. Like you, baby girl. So we're gonna put this in the freezer to cool down. We're gonna just cut our wax paper so it's easy to separate and so that your hands don't get dirty when you just pop one out of the freezer. Something like this. So these have been in the freezer for 10 minutes and they firmed up and cooled down. And I have this pan here on low heat, ready for me. Just a drizzle of neutral oil. And you want to add these in gently. Much easier to work with them once they've cooled down, because when it's hot, it's just gonna break apart. And when you're not working with them, just put the rest in the freezer. Nice, you can see the scorched rice on the top. And what the roasting process also helps us do is not only does it develop flavor, but it helps rice balls to stay more intact. It kind of creates like a hard barrier for the cheese to not ooze out. And roast them for about 3 to 4 minutes on each side, low and slow. I'm gonna transfer these here. And you want to put them on a wired rack so that they don't steam and break apart. And don't worry, the cheese will still be ooey and gooey, so you don't have to consume it now and burn yourself. Look how cheesy and gooey it got. See? I told you, trust the process. Or trust mommy. So good. Wow. It's cheesy, it's moist, it's a little spicy, a little acidic, and the crunchy rice is so nice. And with the rest of these, what you want to do is get a wax paper, put it like this, and freeze. This way, it'll be easy to get them out one by one, and it won't stick to each other. And you can just pop them into an air fryer or a microwave for a quick, easy snack. Something like this. And these will keep in the freezer until you want to make some more. Kimchi Soondubu Jjigae is my favorite hangover soup. It's spicy, it's a little sour, and your taste buds the day after you're drinking is gonna be a little dulled out, and you're gonna need something that punches you in the taste buds to wake you up and to be kind of that enzyme to get up and don't waste a day. Being hungover is a social construct. If you live in New York or in LA, you'll know BCD Tofu House, and this is one of their most popular menu items, and this is my rendition. It uses kimchi, mussels, egg, fish sauce, leeks, mushroom, a little bit of pepper for garnish, obviously some silken tofu, Korean red pepper flakes, aka gochugaru, soy sauce, sesame oil, black pepper, and a little bit of neutral oil. And we can't forget about the garlic as well. So the pot that I'm using today is a ceramic pot. You want to ideally get something that's very insulating, meaning that even when you take it off of the grill, it's still going to be boiling and retain that heat for long. Soondubu is an oil-based soup, so you want everything to be hot. You want it to kind of almost burn your throat. Why? Because us Koreans, we're masochists. We love pain. 2 tablespoons of neutral oil. And you want to put your leeks in now. And this is just finely cut. We just want to gently saute it, making sure all those leaky juices are imbued into the oil, along with a tablespoon of garlic. Maybe a little more. A little more garlic. Never hurt anyone. The leeks look nice and transparent. Now is the time to add our red pepper flake. A 1 tablespoon of gochugaru goes in, and this is to create a chili oil base. And it's going to burn really quickly, so just lower the heat to the lowest setting and you'll see the color of the oil change. And to here you want to add a bit of black pepper and deglaze the gochugaru with a bit of soy sauce. 1 tablespoon of soy sauce goes in. You want to hear that sizzle. That's the sound of soy sauce caramelizing, and it's going to give a lot of flavor. This is the base for our soondubu. Very customizable. You can put pork, beef, mandu, whatever toppings you want to put in. It's a great way to get rid of some of the vegetables in your fridge. And now we're just roasting the kimchi into a nice paste. And I'm gonna add the mushrooms in now. 500 mils, around 2 cups of water goes in. And leave a little bit of room for the tofu. It should only be 2/3 of the way up. And at this point, you wanna turn the heat up to a high. Once the stew is boiling, it's time to add our silken tofu. Just break it up a little bit. And because we don't want this to overflow, I'm gonna turn the heat to a medium, and we're gonna add our mussels in. The beauty of silken tofu is almost boiling over, maybe even boiling over. And once the tofu is boiling, you wanna adjust the saltiness with fish sauce. You wanna season to your liking. I'm gonna put 1 tablespoon of fish sauce. I'm gonna turn the heat off. And while the pot is hot, you wanna drop an egg in. And you can even do this table side. Then you wanna drizzle a tiny bit of sesame oil, 1 teaspoon, and also garnish with a bit of green and red pepper in the center. Okay, I'm gonna give it a little taste test. And look at that chili oil rising to the top. Almost like a split sauce. It's like beautiful little bubbles. And look at that jiggle. It's like a nice Latina booty. Wow. The fish sauce at the end, that really just makes the aroma a game changer. And with that chili oil, that kind of packs a punch, but then you have the soft silken tofu that almost kind of ameliorates it. And it's like a perfect combination. There's really nothing like it. And the beauty of every Soondubu Jjigae is finding that gently poached yolk. Come to mama. This on top of rice with a little bit of chili oil on top, beautiful. But right now I'm gonna just have it with the broth. It's like a reward. So the next dish that we're gonna be making is called tuna Mukenji Kimbap. So Mukenji refers to aged kimchi. It's when it's further down the fermentation time, and it needs to be at least 1 month old, and a very characteristic taste is sourness. It's gonna be more sour than the kimchi that you're used to, but it also adds a really nice acidic note to anything that you're making, and it's gonna be very refreshing, almost like a lactic acid pickle. So this is something that I haven't really seen anywhere on like Western YouTube for Korean cooking, and that is the act of washing kimchi. I know washing kimchi sounds so weird to so many people, but it's actually a fairly standard practice. You want to squeeze all the liquid out, because if it's too watery, it's not gonna be good. And it's actually a fairly easy kimbap to make because it doesn't have any egg or anything, and it's very refreshing also. And the filling is very easy. It's just tuna, 1.5 tablespoons of mayonnaise. Oh yeah. And a little bit of black pepper. There's something about mayonnaise and tuna and rice that's bound to be the perfect threesome. Actually, let's make it 2 tablespoons. A little bit of mayonnaise never killed nobody. Maybe like 40 years down the line. But you know, heart disease isn't even the worst way to go, in my opinion. Final step before the assembly is going to be seasoning the rice. There's going to be 1 teaspoon of sesame oil and ½ teaspoon of salt. So kimbap rice, as opposed to sushi rice, doesn't have any vinegar or sugar. There's always going to be a pickled element when we're making kimbap. Let's quickly go over some of the ingredients. We have seaweed, our seasoned rice, tuna for the filling, washed kimchi, 당근 볶음. It's very simple. Julienne carrots with a little bit of oil and salt, and then sauteed. And perilla leaf. It's in the same family as the Japanese shisho, but it's better. So when you take a look at the seaweed, you're gonna see that there's lines. You want the line to be parallel to you so that it helps with the rolling process this way. And there's 2 sides to it. There's a shiny side and a non-shiny side, but put the shiny side on the bottom because it's nice and shiny. It's prettier. You want to prepare a little bowl of water, and you want to wet your hand just a tiny bit. Moist, like sweaty hands in gym class. I'm gonna put around a cup of rice and create a rough ball, like this. And then you slam it down, and then you push it away, like all the good men in your life, and women, and days. And it's okay if you have a little bit of bald spots. I mean, so does your boyfriend, you know? And you want the rice to come up to the 2/3 of the seaweed because we need that extra headspace in order to roll. We want a nice tight roll, a nice doobie. And with this, you want to just push it to one side and layer the kimchi. And do a crisscross. You want part of the stem to be on top and part on the bottom, like this. 3 should be enough for what we're trying to achieve here today. And then you want to take the rice and seaweed and put it rice side down. Now we're going to put our perilla leaf. It's going to act as almost like a bed for the tuna. A little bit of carrots. We don't want to be too greedy with the fillings or it's going to be incredibly hard to roll. And then the tuna. Just want to make sure everything is an even height. And now we roll. You want to grab the kimchi and then keep on rolling. Nice and taut and beautiful. And then repeat for the other process. That's a fat doobie. We have our rolls ready, and I'm just gonna brush it with a little bit of sesame oil, and you get that really nice gloss. And now we cut. And you don't want the knife to stick, so we're just gonna brush it slightly with a little bit of sesame oil, both sides of the knife, and this is gonna help it not stick and just glide right through. And you just wanna cut it into bite-sized pieces. Almost easier than making regular kimbap, and so beautiful. We always fight for the ends of the kimbap because it has the most filling to rice ratio, so the end pieces is always for the chef. It's acidic, it's really refreshing from the crunchy kimchi, and washed kimchi is very different from just regular kimchi because that spice doesn't overwhelm you, and it has like deeper notes, and it works so well with the creamy mayo tuna filling inside, and a little bit of that sweetness coming from the carrots is a perfect complement. If you think about it, this also uses very simple ingredients. It has maximum 4 main ingredients, and you're able to create such a beautiful dish in no time. Very simple, very easy. I really urge you to try out this one. What I love about this recipe is one, it's one pot and it's really easy to make for a big family, and if you have an Instapot, even better because you can prepare it in advance. What the kimchi does for this dish especially is work as a tenderizer. A really great way to break down some of the amino acid and really tenderize the chicken. Before we make it, let's go over some of the ingredients. Chicken thighs, leeks, potatoes, onions, carrots, green pepper, and kimchi. For the sauce, we're gonna be using 1/4 cup gochugaru, 1/4 cup soy sauce, 1/4 cup cooking wine. I'm using mirin. Mirin is a sweet cooking wine, but if you're using white wine or sake, just add 1 tablespoon extra of sugar. 1 tablespoon of gochujang, 2 tablespoons of minced garlic, and 1/4 cup of sugar. A little bit of black pepper, and 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. You just wanna mix the sauce, and this is what's gonna really bind everything together. The kimchi juice, as well as some of the juice coming from the chicken, and the sugar and the acid in this, very similar to how you would cook adobo. It really helps tenderize the protein. We have our chicken. I'm just gonna lightly salt it. 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of neutral oil, and we're going to sear our chicken skin side down so that all that chicken fat renders out. And all that chicken fat is gold. And you want to turn the heat off and scrape off some of that fond on the bottom. That is flavor. And now, don't throw away this oil. We're going to put all our vegetables in, and this rendered chicken fat is going to be emulsified with the sauce and the kimchi. We're putting in half an onion and 2 leeks, and this is cut into around 10 centimeter or around 4.5 inches. Essentially, what we're doing is creating this bed of aromatics for the oil to be infused with. Carrots and potatoes that's been peeled and halved. I'm gonna add our peppers, and we're going to layer in the chicken. And you wanna just pour all the juices as well. We don't wanna waste that. And on top of it goes our sauce, and we're going to stuff down our kimchi. And this is 1/4. It looks like a heaping pile, and it is a heaping pile, but everything is going to shrink as it stews. But maybe be smarter and use a bigger pot. You just want to press it down. Like what? Let's reuse jokes and say childhood trauma. And we want to turn the heat to a low simmer and stew it for 40 minutes. If you're making this in a pressure cooker, 15 minutes. If you're putting it in an Instapot, works the same way as a pressure cooker, so 15 minutes. Or you can also do this in a slow cooker as well. And notice how I didn't put any water into the stew? It's because all the natural juices of the onions and the leeks and the carrots are going to drip down, as well as the kimchi, and make a nice sauce. You don't need any water because we want that nice juicy water coming from the vegetables. That's it. I'll see you in 40 minutes. So this has been stewing for 40 minutes. Let's check on it to see if all our vegetables are fully cooked. That looks good. Look how it's bubbling and all the oil is just rising. The kimchi looks good. I'm gonna take out the kimchi. I'm just gonna show you how tender this chicken is. I have a chopstick here. Go straight through. Also on the potato, no resistance. It's usually my favorite part of this dish. The sauce that we made is gonna be garlicky, sweet, coming from the leeks and the onions. Liquid gold, I tell you, liquid gold. I like to kind of just like mash it in so it absorbs the sauce. Wow, the potato is so nice and fluffy. It feels like you're walking on clouds. It's so delicate and it's sweet. The outer layer absorbs all that sauce, but the inside is just so fluffy and nice and moist, and it's the perfect bite. Can you see how juicy that is? Do you see this? Juicy. Bon appetit. Wow. I know I said the kimbap one was my favorite, but I think this one might be. Keeps topping it off. Honestly, anything with kimchi, I freaking love. Next dish is going to be loaded kimchi nachos. It's gonna be filthy. It's gonna be disgusting, but in the best way possible. And because we're extra, we're gonna fry our own tortilla chips. Make sure your oven is preheated to this amount. Let's cut our tortilla chips first. I'm just using corn tortillas today, and I'm gonna cut them into eighths. We're gonna fry these up. So you wanna make sure that your oil is up to 185, which is gonna be, I think, 325 Fahrenheit, if my conversion is right. You want to gently just spread the tortilla chips. Just press it down. Once the chips are ready, they shouldn't make any sounds. That frying sound when the chips hit the oil is the sound of water escaping the tortilla chips. So once they stop screaming, you want to put them in a separate vessel like so. While they're hot, you want to salt it. The chips needs to be hot in order for the salt to adhere, or else it's just gonna not play together. And just fish them out a tiny bit earlier than you think they're ready, because they're gonna keep on cooking through. So just keep that in mind. Make sure to always have a spider ready. You call these like netted things spiders. Nothing beats a freshly fried tortilla nacho chips. We're gonna make what I'm gonna call a little bit of a cheesy name, but Kimchi Jjigae. Obviously, this is a play on pico de gallo, but instead of lime juice, we're going to put in kimchi. And it's going to be a nice balance with the tomatoes. 4 tomatoes, chopped, goes in. 150 grams of chopped kimchi, half an onion, 2 tablespoons of cilantro, a bit of black pepper, and no salt because we have kimchi, and kimchi is salty as is, and we mix it in. You can barely see the kimchi inside, but when you taste it, there's gonna be another crunch coming from kimchi as well as the onion. Next up, we're gonna make a little guacamole. 2 avocados are gonna go in, and you just wanna mash it. I like my guacamole slightly chunky, so not too much. Just like a spreadable consistency. I am gonna season it a little bit of salt, black pepper, 2 tablespoons of the kimchi jjigae that we made earlier. And we just mix it in. Look at the consistency on this. I love guac. Let's load this bad boy up. I'm gonna use the chicken thighs from earlier and shred them. Obviously, use whichever protein you wanna use. I have this, so I'm gonna use the chicken. These are so soft, I can just shred them with spoons. And we're gonna load this on top of our nachos. So I have a cup of Mexican style cheese. This is what I like to use. It's pretty. I like the yellow and white stripes. If you have queso, that's even better. But for most people, without the access of nice Mexican supermarkets, this will do. Nachos goes in, and then we're gonna put our chicken on top. Let's get messy in here. A cup of cheese, because this is American food and Korean food meeting. You know, I want to say sprinkle, but it's really dumping it in. And this goes in the oven for 10 minutes or until the cheese has melted. Okay, this is ready to come out of the oven. The cheese is melted nicely. Wowza! And we're gonna dress this bad boy. I'm gonna start with a little bit kimchi jjigae, a little bit of guaca, sour cream or creme fraiche, and cilantro to garnish. Gorgeous! Oh my god. Kimchi Ragu pasta. I'm sorry to all the Italians, but this channel is made to offend the Italians. But it really is the perfect amalgamation. I feel like Koreans are the Italians of Asia. We have good food, we have good-looking men, and we're hot-headed. Let's quickly run over some of the ingredients. Olive oil, kimchi, celery, carrots, onions, garlic, pork, beef, a can of whole tomatoes, 2 tablespoons of, you'll find out in a second, this one's a secret. Or if you're watching and you want to cook along with it, gochujang, but pretend it looks like tomato paste. And like every good pasta dish, it starts with a little bit of olive oil. And when I say a little bit of olive oil, I mean at least a 1/4 cup. I'm gonna be cooking Italian food with the rice paddle, so you know how it's going. So in goes our onions. When the onions are looking translucent, we're gonna add our garlic. What we're making is a sofrito base. The holy trinity of sofrito is onions, carrots, and celery. And we're gonna be adding just that. Carrots go in, then celery, kimchi. So there's 50 grams each of onions, carrots, and celery, and 100 grams of kimchi. And you just wanna mix it all in together. What we're making is a base for the ragu, and this sofrito determines all the flavor. It's caramelizing all the aromatics so that it gets nice and jammy. It can't be runny, it needs to be nice and chunky. I want every bite of that pasta to be well coated in a thick, meaty sauce. And what the kimchi helps do is, one, look at this chili oil that comes out from the gochugaru. It creates a nice spicy base, and you really want to cook down this base. It should really have like a jammy consistency. Okay, this is looking pretty nice to me. It's reduced almost half in volume, and I'm gonna create a ring, and you can see the pool of oil in the center, and into it we're gonna brown our meats. So we have ground beef and ground pork going in. I'm gonna season the meats with a teaspoon of salt, and you wanna break it in. You don't want any big chunks of meat, and I want it to really also render out all that fat. You just wanna let it be and not stir it around too much. The meat is looking nice and caramelized now, and I'm gonna push it to the side. Again, we have this beautiful pool of oil in the center, and we're going to cook out tomato paste, you might think. No, it's gochujang. So the gochujang is going to be our coagulant. Ooh, fancy words. But it's really going to be our emulsifying agent for the sauce. So tomato paste is really essentially cooked down tomato sauce, and it has a high starch content, which is why you can achieve a lot of tomato flavor in such little amount without adding too much moisture. Gochujang is the same. It's a thick chili paste, and it's thickened with usually rice flour. It's going to act as a binding agent for all the fat and the tomato sauce and the meats and the sofrito, everything to really get to know each other. Just like you would with tomato paste, you just want to break it apart and let it cook out. I love the combination of adding gochujang to tomato sauce because it really adds a nice bit of sweet spice. It's like adding paprika almost, but a little more flavor. And into it goes 2 cans of tomatoes. See how the oil is rising to the top here? We want to simmer down on a low so that all the oil gets emulsified in and the sauce reduces to around 2/3 of its weight right now. So we're just gonna have it on simmer, ideally for at least 40 minutes to up to 3 hours. But today I'm lacking patience, so we're only gonna do 40 minutes. Okay, I have a pot of water boiling. When the water comes up to a boil, that is when you add the salt. A healthy pinch, and 100 grams of pasta goes in. I'm using rigatoni today. I'm making 2 portions, so 200 grams. And cook it to the package directions. For rigatoni, I like it to be a little al dente, so 10 minutes. Kimchi. Okay, the pasta is ready. I'm just gonna pull it out and put it into the saucepan, and I'm gonna reserve 1/2 cup of pasta water. It's all that starch coming from the pasta that's going to thicken it. Just a little bit so it doesn't stick. Look how beautiful that is. A little chunky. If you like yours completely smooth, just blitz it a little bit now. The longer it simmers, the more flavorful it's gonna be. You know what? More sauce. So about 1 cup of ragu for every person, 100 grams. Oh, man down. You know when the pasta has really soaked up the sauce, when you kind of do this, when you push it to the side and you don't have any liquid running out. That's the perfect consistency. Gorgeous. I'm gonna top it off with a little bit of more sauce. Tiny drizzle of olive oil, a little crack of black pepper, and a little finishing salt. I'm gonna eat pasta with spoon and chopstick. I'm so sorry, Italians. That is crazy good. Kimchi in Ragu sauce, I know, blasphemy to all the Italians, but trust me, it's actually a really great addition to a very classic dish. You know, it's something beautiful. It's like our baby together. Kevin and I actually met in Sicily. Fun fact. You know, if you're offended by this, well, you have that fact to mull over. When it comes to the world of indulgent foods, I am a maximalist in the meaning that I want something sweet, salty, spicy, acidic, cheesy, all of those things in one bite. And in my humble opinion, I think that the king of all cheese toast is grilled kimchi cheese sandwich. And we need to start with a nice sourdough. I'm gonna use these 2 slices. And I'm going to make the spread for the kimchi grilled cheese sandwich. 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, 1 teaspoon of gochujang. And you just want to mix it. Let's go through some of the ingredients. We have kimchi, butter, aged cheddar, American cheese, Gouda, gochujang, which we put into the mayo mix, and mayonnaise, which we put into the mayo mix. Oh, and sugar. Okay, we're gonna start by making the kimchi jam. We're gonna add 1 tablespoon of butter. Once the butter has melted, we're gonna add the chopped kimchi and 1 tablespoon of sugar. The sugar is really gonna help caramelize the kimchi. Just mix it around slightly. We're gonna add a teaspoon of gochujang, optional, but this is really more for the color and to make it glossy. Again, what we're doing is evaporating some of the excess moisture and really condensing the flavor of kimchi and bringing out that natural sweetness. Heat off. I'm gonna transfer it into the same bowl. So this is our finished kimchi jam. Really sweet and salty and savory. Double down on the umami with the cheese. So it's gonna be an umami bomb. Now let's assemble sourdough on the bottom. Let's crack open this $8 worth of Gouda because cheese is so expensive in Korea. 3 slices or around 50 grams of Gruyere. And then we're gonna go in with a bed of kimchi. Just spread it out. Aged cheddar goes on top. And it's not a proper grilled cheese sandwich without American cheese. 2 slices. And you put it on top. And we're going to dollop a little bit of the gochujang mayo. Spread it thin like that. That extra sugar and starch in gochujang is going to caramelize really, really well with the mayonnaise. The reason why we put mayonnaise instead of butter is because mayonnaise is a mixture of egg and oil. So it's the perfect combination to make a crusty, dusty sandwich in the best way possible. You need protein and a little bit of sugar and oil to help caramelize evenly to make that really nice, crusty, crispy, crunchy grilled cheese sandwich that you're dreaming of. And heat your skillet at low temperature. You really want the pan to be low and slow because we don't want to burn the cheese. We really want to make sure that the crust is nice and evenly formed, and you can only do that with patience and low temperature. I add a little bit of butter, so swirl it around. And we want to put the grilled cheese sandwich with the gochujang mayo side down. Spoon a little bit of the gochujang mayo, making sure every nook and cranny is filled with that sweet mayo. Perfect. And if you feel like there's any parts of your grilled cheese that's not well caramelized, this is the point where you add a little more mayonnaise to the parts that aren't so golden brown. Mine turned out perfect, so I'm gonna leave it as is. Keep kind of rotating it around, making sure that the heat disperses evenly throughout the toast. Wow, gorgeous, huh? I'm gonna turn the heat off and let some of the residual heat melt the cheese further through. Oh, she's a runner. It's a track star. Look at that. Look at all the colors and the cheese oozing out. You know, I hate pressing down on grilled cheese sandwich, but it is aesthetic, I have to say. Look at this grilled cheese. It's a cascade of cheese. This is like the iguazu of grilled cheese. Gouda has this tendency to really melt well because it's a high moisture cheese, and we have that yellow American cheese kind of bind everything together with the gelatin, and that aged cheddar is going to give it a nice salty piquantness. The caramelized kimchi is going to be acidic, sweet, and jammy with a little bit of nice bite to offset some of the really cheesiness. And that gochujang glaze, it gives more room for caramelization and also gives a nice orange glow to the toast. I'm just gonna let you know, this is gonna be the best grilled cheese of your life. I thought that I was gonna be so sick of kimchi by the end of this because, you know, I had to eat a lot of kimchi, but surprisingly enough, I don't feel that way. It really feels like every dish was uniquely different, and it just shows how versatile kimchi is and how many different forms that it can take. I hope you enjoyed 10 different ways of making kimchi. This was honestly so much fun for me to make, and I hope you try it out. Next time you go to the grocery store, you walk by the fermented foods aisle, give kimchi a try. I know it can be a little scary for some, but I'm here to show you in little baby steps. And if you have any questions, I'll be answering cooking questions in the comments below, so let me know. That's pretty much it, and I guess until next time. See you, doobies. I love you. I'm going crazy.
28 years old in Korean age.
No, I'm 26. I'm going crazy. This kimchi got loco. I'm literally gonna shit out just a whole head of cabbage and a pile of garlic.
You have to promise me not to show your